friends, how you keeping? I hope you had a good week practicing and progressing with the guitar. If you felt you didn't, that doesn't mean you are actually progressing. The secret is to be consistent with your practice, and it takes a toll on you. You can do it for 5 minutes or 2 minutes a day. 2 minutes a day will increase because at the beginning, when you are out of your comfort zone, is torturing. Going to zones that are that are not. That are very out of your reach, out of your comfort zone, and it's painful. But you have to go through it. You have to cross that pantan. You need to just know that suffering is that's the actual progress. Even if you don't see it in the first sight. This is a very good book that I was hearing, the audiobook called Atomic Habits. I will recommend it, especially if you're trying to learn guitar and learn on new rhythms, new stuff. And he said something like, good habits are like, the bamboo roots and the bamboo forest. The bamboos will take a long time to show that they are actually growing. And it takes so much effort and consistency to keep watering the seeds and watering the earth, and one day a little leaf will sprout. But what we don't know and we don't see is that underneath there is a network of roots that is so deep and so strong, and that's the structure of bamboo. So that will give all the structure and all you will need in the future of your guitaristic future, to say it in some way. So don't please be patient and be consistent. Don't give up. Just keep doing it. And so we're gonna move forward with the exercises. And for this day, I bring another basic rhythm that I used a lot in this band with Rodrigo and myself, which is like what I call the kick drum. And the kick drum I discovered this kick drum between busking in Ireland, and then we were playing in a club that in Ireland every Saturday, I think Friday and Saturday, and we did 3 sets of 45 minutes or so. But we started really early on the day, like around 6. So there was the place was empty. So for months we played for empty little venue, which it was cozy and all. And at some point, people started to show up at the last set, and they just came for drinks, and it was just like kind of nightclub stuff. And me and Rod, we used to play what we did at that time, which a lot of guitar, and I used to play a lot of solo, and I used to play a different format with Rod, and we did covers of Strong Samphara and stuff like that. And we also wrote a lot of music at that time, but it was quite technical. And I remember me and Rod, we did a lot of thirds together, and I played with the pick, all of that. And we already had some Metallica stuff and like that. But I remember we had a tune called Sangre y Ritmo at that time, which was like rhythmic like this. And then all of a sudden, the third set, the place was packed. It was jammed. And we couldn't hear ourselves. So we tell the engineers, please bring the monitors up. And out of my chest, or out of, I don't know, somewhere, I start to do this. So all the people start to go quiet, and they looked at us, and they were like, "Oh, what are these guys are doing? It sounds great, blah." And then I said, if I manage to play the harmony, so instead of play the harmony, if I can manage to do this, then we can keep them happy, because we felt, I felt, I don't know, Rod, but I felt like under pressure, because I thought we had to deliver for these people. I was very young at that time, so nowadays I would say, oh, they're just a bunch of people that come for a drink and then care shit about the musicians. But at that time, to me was like, oh, we need to deliver, we need to make a fun night for them and all of this. So I was on the press, and I remember that all of a sudden, I don't remember the sangre ritmo, but I remember I start to play like the rhythm with the kick, and it sounded like a nightclubby kind of thing, and just people they were just blown away, like, oh, that sounds incredible, and just two guitars. They were all super drunk. So the Irish people super drunk, and that club, so the sugar club. So this is a good this is, if you don't want to have a drummer, it's a good idea to develop. Or if you can't afford a drummer, it's a good skill that you can develop. And I have a good friend, Ali Todd. She's one of the ones who actually nailed it perfectly, all of my rhythms. And recently she came to Mexico for a little trip, and I taught her one of my pieces, what I wrote with no rod. It's one of my pieces I wrote for a whale, and I taught her. I said, please play this, and then it's so easy. She learns all the rhythms effortlessly because she plays like me. So yeah, so it was a good fun to have her with me. So I played all the arpeggios and I played all of the leads. And then she was able to play all the percussion things, and also Pablito, which he also learned all these rhythms. He's such an accomplished musician too, and so it was great to have all of these things. But it was just like a little band, but except that we were three guitars at this point. We have percussion, drums, and everything out of the guitar. So this is a very helpful thing. The what I call the kick drum. So doing this, it's just like the smack with the full. I do it with this part, but I'm sure you will find your own way to do it. I don't do it with this because it sounds like it doesn't give any. It doesn't give any low end. It doesn't, it's just like black. It needs to kind of have. It needs to sound round, like a kick drum. And it should be played here, near the pickup. Acoustically, you will be able to bring the kick drum. But when we play live and we do, when we are in a venue, this would sound like a kick drum. It will sound very super loud, and that's because of the sound settings. But it's not a sound effect. It's actually you playing it. You have to. You need to be able first to do it on the acoustic guitar with nothing. Plugged, only the acoustic guitar, and make sure you master it. It looks very simple, but I just want you to kind of understand the tone of it, which is like boom, boom, boom. So later on, I think I'll bring the sound engineers, to explain how they do the EQ in order to make it really like a kick drum. And the way we discovered that also was there at the Sugar Club and at the Modirelli's pub back in Dublin on those days, which was another crazy night we did. And we played a full set in Modirelli's. Also was crazy night because all the Irish people understand, because it was a packed pub full of crazy people, and that's what's so noisy. And then every time I start to do like a rhythm like this, everybody started to looking at us and they start to kind of dance and move, and so the way I came up with this. But then Rod was the one who, on those little amplifiers and this little, what we called the Arturito, which was like a little PA system like this, really cute, and it looked like Arturito a little bit. So he did this setup and said, play it, play. Every time we did a sound check there on our own, and then he managed to kind of make it sound like a really thick drum kit. And then he passes this information to different sound engineers, and then we got our own sound engineer at some point during those years, Graham, an Irish engineer too, and he was the one, because he was a metalhead and he understood it like this, because some other engineers were like, oh, that sounds terrible, that shouldn't, acoustic guitar shouldn't sound like this, because when you play like this and blah blah blah. So we said, yes, but because we're playing different things altogether, we need a different setup, especially on this guitar. And so for a lot of people it was like, ugh, that's terrible. But for Graham was like, oh, great, I understand, like, because it was just metalhead. He understood what and he was a guitarist too, so he understood where we come from, and we just planned to do like a disco club and also like a lot of metal stuff on the acoustic. But in order to be able to sound in a venue full of people and noisy people, we needed to change the EQ on the traditional acoustic guitars. So let's go first percussion first. So then I do a little bit of like this with my nail, well, little bit of a nail, because I don't have nails because of the same. So if you start like this, pop, pop, and this I do it on the 6th string. So you have a beat, and I guarantee if you start to playing like this, and every time I start playing like this in a gig, everybody start clapping and they start to move a little bit. Depends the audience. Sometimes some people is very shy and they just stay quiet like this, unless I go like, come on, so everybody will just go. But so this is the basic. So for a lot of the pieces, especially when you have to bring all the other elements that we already saw, like all of the rhythm. For instance, let's say we're gonna do Sound Maker, which goes E minor, B minor 7, C major 7, A minor, and B major. And that's the progression of Sound Maker. So first I always do this, because that will give you like a full for the ear to pick what chord are we doing, you know. So I don't do this, I go and then at the very end. I use this one at the very end. So because then everything's gonna sound boom, 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 and sometimes I get edgy when I ask my engineer, said, don't put that boom so loud, because I want to be the one who's in control of it, because you need to give dynamics. So if the song is starting, you don't gonna do full, unless it's hyper crazy or super crazy, and then it's contagious, so they make you feel exactly the same way, so you would express it in the same way. But if we go to a theater where everybody's like, it's the first song and everybody's a little quiet or shy or something, just play. So what is the difference? That I'm not doing it here. I'm doing it here. And it sounds more like a snare drum. So if we do it here, this is the rhythm I already showed you. On the recordings, this beat is always a little too challenging, because on the recordings, the only thing that is picked by the machines is this. So it's very hard to listen to the rest of the strings. Or sometimes also live, you don't hear the strings, and that's not good. But you got the essence. So especially at the end of the shows, or in some parts that we need a lot of energy, it is worth to sacrifice a little bit of the string sounds of the chord, because you can still kind of hear it, especially if you mark the first string is the first piece. So if you want to do other combinations along with these chords of rhythm, you can start adapting all the other rhythms that we already saw, like these ones, but on this context. Sorry, my mistake. We're doing this first. Okay, so you can start just adapting all the other scales and rhythms to this. But first, master this, and then add this one, and then try to do it with the chord, whatever chord you want. But first, do this, not here, but here like this, and then you take it. So this will be this lesson, and this is the summary. And first step 1 is this, step 2 is, and step 3 is. Always start, every time you do the chord, you do the first strumming like this, and then okay. So I hope you have a great practice, and let me know any doubts or whatever. I'm here to serve. Voila.